The house is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where the outside world cannot reach you, where walls stand like silent guardians and doors promise safety. But when you are truly home alone, that promise can begin to feel fragile. The quiet grows heavier than noise. Every sound becomes intentional. Every shadow feels closer than it should be. Tonight's stories come from real moments, when ordinary people were alone in their homes and discovered how thin the line is between comfort and terror. These are not just stories meant to make your skin crawl in the dark. They are reflections of fear, resilience, and the strange strength that awakens when there is no one else to rely on. Within these true home alone horror stories are lessons carved by panic and survival, reminders that even in the scariest moments, the human spirit can rise instead of break. It often begins with denial. Fear rarely crashes in loudly. It slips in quietly, testing the edges of your awareness. Eric was a college student living alone in a small off-campus house, the kind of place with old wood floors that creaked even when no one walked on them. It was late, almost 3 in the morning, and the world outside his window was frozen in winter silence. He had headphones on, buried in textbooks, convincing himself he could push through exhaustion. When he first heard the sound, he dismissed it instantly. A soft click. Probably the heater. Probably the house settling. But then it came again. Slower, this time unmistakable. The back door handle was turning. In that moment, comfort vanished. His chest tightened, his mouth went dry, and time stretched in a way that felt cruel. He sat frozen, listening as the handle turned once more. Carefully, patiently, like whoever was outside didn't want to be noticed. Fear flooded his body. But instead of screaming or running blindly, something else happened. His senses sharpened. He noticed the faint glow of the digital clock on the microwave, the hum of electricity in the walls, the way his phone felt cold and heavy in his hand. Fear woke him up completely. Eric remembered advice his father once gave him after a neighborhood break-in years ago. Fear is not your enemy, panic is. Fear is there to warn you, to sharpen you, to prepare you. Slowly, without making a sound, Eric backed away, locking himself in the bathroom and calling the police. He didn't move. He didn't speak above a whisper. When officers arrived, they found scratch marks around the lock and muddy footprints leading away from the house toward the woods. Someone had been trying to get in, silently, carefully. Someone had been watching. That night changed Eric forever. He learned that fear, when respected, can save your life. Being home alone taught him awareness. The kind that stays with you long after the danger passes. The lesson wasn't to live scared, but to live alert, to understand that your instincts are ancient alarms meant to protect you, not shame you. Silence can be just as terrifying as noise, sometimes more so. Leela learned this after her divorce, when she moved into a small house on the edge of town. Living alone was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to heal. One stormy evening, the power went out, plunging her home into darkness. No television, no music, no comforting hum of appliances. Just rain tapping against the windows and silence pressing in from all sides. As she sat on the couch with a flashlight, she heard footsteps above her. Slow, careful, not running, not stumbling, walking. Her heart began to race as she tried to rationalize it away. Maybe the house was settling. Maybe it was the storm. But when she stopped breathing, the footsteps stopped too. That was the moment she understood she wasn't alone. The silence told her everything. Someone else was listening. Someone else was aware of her fear. Leela didn't scream. She didn't confront whoever was upstairs. She quietly slipped out through a window and ran to a neighbor's house. Shaking so badly she could barely explain what was happening. Police later found a burglar hiding in her attic. Someone who had likely been there for days, learning her routine, waiting for the perfect moment. Silence saved Leela's life. It forced her to listen, to trust what she felt, instead of what she wanted to believe. Sometimes the quiet moments in life reveal truths we've been avoiding. When distractions disappear, reality becomes impossible to ignore. Courage doesn't always look like facing danger head-on. Sometimes, it looks like restraint. Marcus was 16 when his parents left him home alone for the weekend. He was excited at first, enjoying the freedom, the quiet, the feeling of independence. Late one night, while playing video games, he heard something that made his stomach drop. Crying. Soft, desperate sobbing, coming from the basement. Every horror movie he had ever seen flashed through his mind. He stood up, heart pounding, torn between curiosity and fear. Part of him wanted to go investigate, to prove he was brave. Another part of him felt something deeper, heavier, telling him not to move. The crying stopped suddenly, replaced by silence. That silence felt wrong. Marcus locked his bedroom door and called the police, his voice shaking as he explained what he had heard. When officers arrived, they found a man hiding in the basement, injured, unstable, and dangerous. If Marcus had gone down there alone, things could have ended very differently. Courage wasn't walking into the darkness. Courage was choosing safety over pride. Sometimes bravery is knowing when not to act, when to wait, when to ask for help. That lesson stayed with Marcus into adulthood, shaping how he handled fear and decision-making in every part of his life. Instincts are often dismissed as irrational, but they are built from generations of survival. Nora was an elderly woman who had lived alone for years after her husband passed away. One quiet evening, she felt something she couldn't explain, a sensation of being watched. She sat in her chair, knitting. When the feeling grew stronger, she looked toward the window and saw nothing unusual, yet her body reacted before her mind could catch up. Her hands trembled, her heart raced. She closed the curtains, without fully understanding why, locked her doors, and called a neighbor. Later that night, police caught a man lurking in her yard, watching her house. Nora couldn't explain how she knew something was wrong. She just did, trusting her instincts protected her. That night reinforced a truth many people learn too late. Your intuition is not weakness. It is wisdom without words. Darkness has a way of stripping everything down to its core. Anna was a single mother living with her 2 children when a citywide blackout hit during a summer heatwave. The power went out just as night fell, plunging the neighborhood into darkness. Hours later, she heard someone trying to force open her back door. Panic surged through her, but she didn't freeze. She gathered her children, hid them in a closet, and whispered for them not to make a sound. With no power and no phone signal, she relied on what she had. She triggered her car alarm from the driveway, filling the night with noise. The intruder fled. In the darkness, Anna discovered strength she didn't know she possessed. Fear didn't destroy her. It revealed her resilience. Darkness doesn't take your power away. It shows you how much you actually have. For some, fear becomes a doorway to faith. Joseph had been living alone since his wife passed away, his house filled with memories and silence. One night, he heard his front door creak open. Instead of panicking, he felt an overwhelming urge to pray. His hands shook as he whispered words of protection, grounding himself in something greater than fear. Moments later, footsteps retreated, the door closed, and silence returned. Police later confirmed there had been an attempted break-in in the neighborhood that night. Joseph believed his calm presence, his refusal to panic, played a role in scaring the intruder away. Faith didn't erase the fear. It gave him something to hold on to when fear arrived. Something steadier than panic. Preparation is often misunderstood as paranoia, but in reality, it is self-respect. One woman who survived a home invasion later said the most terrifying realization wasn't the intruder, but how unprepared she had been. Afterward, she learned, planned, reinforced her home, and reclaimed her peace. Fear taught her to value her life enough to protect it. Every person who survives being home alone during terror says the same thing. They are never the same. Fear leaves marks, but those marks are not just scars. They are reminders of strength, awareness, and survival. When you face fear alone and live through it, something inside you hardens in the best possible way. Being home alone can feel like vulnerability, but it can also become a place of discovery. It is where fear tests you, where courage whispers instead of shouts, where instincts speak louder than logic. If you ever find yourself alone in the quiet hours of the night, remember that fear does not mean weakness. It means you are alive, alert, and capable of protecting yourself. May your home be guarded, your heart be calm, and your spirit be strong. May you find courage in silence, clarity in darkness, and peace even when fear knocks at your door, knowing that you are watched over, protected, and never truly alone, even in the scariest moments.